All right, guys. Thank you for joining us at 4th and 26 Philly Sports Podcast. Again, Dirty Mike here in Cobb's Creek Beef with some reaction to a pretty heartbreaking Super Bowl loss. What's your initial reaction about what you just saw, Beef?
Let me say, win or loss, happy or sad, we're here for the audience. We're here to give it, give it to you real, give it to you raw. I would like to say that we would be on Frankfurt and Common right now. You know what I mean? I'd be interviewing, maybe having a few beers. Fortunately, unless it's not to be. And I have to say, Doc, I think I'm more, as I was saying, I'm more disappointed than I am sad.
You,
Again, for both the season being the way it ended and the game for being the way it ended. Just a sour bite to end the meal, you know?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we could talk about the ending of the game, in a couple minutes, but, just the way that the game kind of started off, we really dominated that first half, not only time of possession, but I just really felt like we had a chance to, really step on their throats in the, first half. If, obviously Jalen, is probably pretty upset about putting that ball on the ground and, giving up that fumble return for a touchdown. Because, realistically, if we would have drove down the field and scored at that point, we could have been looking at, a 10 to 17 point lead within, a couple minutes of that. But he more than made up with it. I mean, he really played the game of his life today. He did everything he could to put the Eagles on his shoulders. When you score 35 points, you should win a Super Bowl. And we've prided ourselves on our defense all year long, and we couldn't get Mahomes on the ground. We couldn't sack him once. We didn't sack him one time. And to watch him scrambling down the field for 30 yards on half of a foot, just I don't know what to make of that. The defense, I hate to say it, but the defense cost us the championship this year.
They came up real short. And again, Jalen, I'm not going to say he played his absolute best, but he, like you said, he more than made up for that little fumble. And I mean, I'm not going to say it's little. It was, there was points, and I get it, all that. But that field was cracked. You could see them
Yeah,
slipping around, kick it. Either kickers were slipping. Like I was surprised it was in that piss poor of a condition.
Yeah, absolutely. You pick these, good weather stadiums and, nice stadiums, newer
No
stadiums,
point.
good weather for these kind of reasons so that you can have an even playing field. And I know both teams had to play on the field, but, there were a couple plays where, I saw us, fall down and, they gashed us for some pretty, big yards, especially in the first half. So it seemed like Travis Kelce was really taking advantage of that, making a lot of cuts. And I saw defenders fall at least twice on those cuts and on the one touchdown he scored. It happened, but yeah, I mean,
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand why in the world are they not in the dome? Like, what's going on here?
yeah. Apparently, they took the field outside yesterday, I believe, and dried it out even further. I just don't understand. What happened with that field. I mean, I don't remember it being that big of a issue when they played the Cardinals, like played there earlier in the year. Do you remember that being an
No,
issue?
but see, yeah, I see. It looked like it was fine. I have to say the field, like you said about Jalen Hurts, they shouldn't even have been in that position in the end
Right.
to begin with. So I can't say again, like you said, I place more of the blame on the D, way more, the lion's share. And I'll tell you what, even though that was a decent punt, that coverage on that punt return, and not to say it was the punter's fault, but the whole coverage team, like how did they
Yeah,
allow him out of that tack? Like that might have been the turning point to the second half for me.
yeah, absolutely. It wasn't a great punt, but it seemed like they were there to make the tackle. It seemed like he ran into a wall, and then all of
Yeah,
a sudden
he
he's
had him
kicking it
pinned.
outside, and
Yeah, he was pinned, like, exactly, and he just it just shows you how piss poor the tackling was, and you know even if this field was slippery, it was slippery for both teams. It should have been equalized. I just think the defense was out of position. They were slow. I mean, maybe there were a wrinkle or two that they didn't see before, but for God's sakes, like there was three touchdowns where he just walked right in. McKinnon running all over them. It was terrible.
Right, they did. Well, let's bring up. I'm going to share on the screen right now. Let me see if can you. Yeah. All right, here we go. If we can look on the screen right here, here's a very telling stat right here. Look at this: 6.1 yards per carry against our defense. They were constantly in third and short, and we just couldn't get off of the field, especially in the second half. I mean, that was as bad as I've seen the Eagles defense look all year in the second half. I mean, you have McKinnon running for 8.5, Mahomes running for 7.3 yards, 44 yards, Patrick Mahomes. You can't let that happen.
No, certainly not. That's ridiculous.
And Isaiah Pacheco,
look at that. That's crazy. And then again, running. They were running. He was throwing. Wow. That's crazy.
Now, Jalen Hurts had 3 rushing touchdowns, but take a look at this stat right here. 3.6 yards per rush. I mean,
it's not so hard.
You know, I definitely feel like, you know, they definitely stacked the box, it seemed like, you know, to specifically take away that. And, you know, it was there. The receiving was there. We were, you know, right there with them. Devontae Smith, 100 yards. A.J. Brown, 96. Dallas Goedert, you know, 304 yards on 27 passes. That should be enough to win you the game, scoring 35 points.
Yeah, had 101, 102 passer rating. I mean, he was, again, I'm not going to say they were the best offense, but 35 points. The defense absolutely, like, where do you go? My brother and I were just talking about this. Where do you go, like, from here to try to fix something like that? I have to process this game entirely to look at it again. But for God's sakes, the D-line, are they getting this old? Like,
yeah,
this is crazy.
I think that was the most disappointing performance of the night. You know, all week everybody last 2 weeks, that's all everybody talked about. Will Kansas City how will they be able to handle the Eagles pass rush? You know, 70 sacks. Aside from a couple scrambles when we knocked them down, you know, running, we didn't hit them at all, barely.
Yeah, Ndamukong Suh was on that team in Super Bowl, what was that, 55?
Yeah.
When they defeated Patrick Mahomes, he should have known the cocktail, the recipe to get to him. What the hell were they doing?
Just no pressure. We got no pressure in that game. Hassan Reddick was pretty much a non-factor in the game, as was most of the defense. I mean, I can't remember. Can you remember any plays? I will have to go back and, like, really look at it. But, I mean, can you remember any really big splash plays that the defense made this game at all?
No, nothing at the first level. It was all second level stuff. There were some good hits.
Right.
That was, you know, they were nice. But again, that was he was already 5 yards.
Yeah, I mean, what's a great hit when you're already 6-7 yards down the field? I mean.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it was like, again, that penalty, that last
let's talk about
call, that was, look, I know that's I know that officiating crew, or at least the head official, is one of the most penalized officials in football this year. But, like, that was the worst call. I mean, but they should never have been in that position to begin with.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't have. But I mean, you gotta put the flag in your pocket at that point, right there. And you know, I'm just so sick of, you know, watching Patrick Mahomes after every play, you know, pointing. That's a penalty. It just, I know it's not scripted, and I know that this isn't planned, but it just really sure seems like the referees are in his pocket. My God.
Kind of reminds you of Tom Brady sometimes.
That's exactly what we were saying at the end of the game. It was just like they passed the torch from Tom Brady to Patrick Mahomes. They've given him all the calls. It just seems like when it's the most important, if it's anything even close to borderline, he's going to get that call.
And we'll see them again. I think we can. Our division sucks so much. Well, we will absolutely get to at least some sort. If not. This Super Bowl will probably get to the NFC Championship again next year.
I know we will.
I'm not worried about that. But what I'm worried about, Foos, is we have 2 first-round picks this season, this draft coming up.
Yeah.
they have what, about 2 months, 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
They really need to get this right,
Yeah,
dude.
you know what? I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear that we need to draft a defensive player first. We're losing a lot of We're going to be losing Miles Sanders most likely. We could be losing Boston Scott as well. Bijan Robinson is the highest ranked prospect coming out of college since Saquon Barkley at running back. He will be the draft pick that will make the most difference for us next year. Yeah, maybe we could draft a cornerback at number 10, but what's he going to sit for a year and then maybe play the year after that, kind of like Nakobe Dean did this year. Jordan Davis, I didn't even barely see him on the field tonight. We need to make a splash at number 10, and I know we're not supposed to draft a running back that high, but Bijan Robinson absolutely has to be our pick at number 10, or else we're going to be dealing with another Justin Jefferson situation.
Yeah,
Honestly.
yeah, and we'll talk about all this in the future. We got plenty of time. We got to sift, right now through what we just saw. But like you said, if we can make a splash, because I'm not really. We'll talk later again about their further draft picks later in that, in that draft, that specific class that they're gonna, do upcoming. But like right now, like where, what can we do? What are the coaches going to do? No other teams are going to want them now after they saw that pathetic showing. What are the coordinators going to do? Of course, they're going to have to stay here now.
Yeah, I think we backed ourselves into keeping our offensive and defensive coordinate. Well, I'm not blaming Shane Steichen, but whatever was going on with Gannon on defense, they just didn't have any answers in the second half. I mean, you got a guy playing on one leg and just scoring 3 straight touchdowns in the second half, and then you got the punt return, and I don't know, man. This one hurts.
Yeah, you can't let this happen. It's all our young viewers out there, okay? Because I know a lot of the youth are torn up by this one.
My son was just crying in the other room. I had to let him just cry it out to sleep. He sounds like he's quiet now, but he was
Yeah.
only 8 when they won the Super Bowl, so he was just kind of getting into sports, but didn't really kind of have like the commitment to the team that he does this year. I mean, he was all in this year, and just I said to him after the game, I said, "Welcome to being a Philly sports fan. This is not the last tears you're gonna cry."
And I'll tell you what, it's not the last year you're going to cheer either. We'll
No,
we'll get we will absolutely get there again. Maybe even this year with the Sixers. You never know. So just that's the beauty of sports. So to the young fans out there, don't lose heart, please. I know a lot of my Facebook friends and parents are saying that, oh, the kids are absolutely devastated. Let me tell you, I'm devastated too. I'm more mad than I am sad.
yeah,
I think that's how I feel about this Super Bowl. So I mean, it's just don't lose heart. By all means, get look look at our team now and be critical. You do. You deserve it because this was a stinker. And it was
yeah.
a stinker at the highest level. All those San Francisco 49ers fans are going to be like, "See, we would have beat them." That's what that's what we're going to have to put up with. But we can use that as fuel for next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we wrap this up, this is just a little post game reaction, but this team's going to look very different next year. We have the potential of losing, possibly Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Boston Scott, Miles Sanders. We have a lot of people on defense that are up for, contracts. And,
Mm-hmm.
I,
Tons, yeah, like 4 or 5,
yeah, so
maybe more.
yeah, I sent you what that one interview I saw with Bradbury the other night talking about, I'm just going to chase the money next year. He had a good year for the Eagles, but I don't consider him, an Eagle. He was a mercenary for hire for this one year. He served his purpose. He was definitely a plus, defensive player for us. But to hear him, not even say, I'm hoping to stay with this, core team. Hopefully we can work something out. But just to hear him say, I'm chasing wherever the money is, get the fuck out of here. Honestly, at this point, you're no longer an Eagle. At this point, I don't want to see your face anymore. I'm done with Bradbury.
Yeah, he
Honestly,
sounds like Deion Sanders, but he don't have Deion Sanders talent.
no. So
Yeah.
when he said that, I'm absolutely finished with him. Resign C.J. Gardner Johnson. He's been a stud all year. Hopefully,
Yeah, give him a chance.
yeah, give him a chance. But as far as Bradbury goes, if all things are equal with re-signing either him or Johnson, which is going to probably come to one or the two, I want C.J. I'm done. I don't want Bradbury anymore.
Yeah, I have to say I can't disagree with you. And I mean, I know we were all thinking Eagles today. Everybody in the Delo, pretty much a lot of places. I mean, they were saying go. They got this one. We're gonna win, but we didn't. And I guess I have to say that things are gonna hurt for a little bit. It's gonna sting, but you can use it. Congratulations to Andy, I guess. Who knows
Yeah.
where he's going to go from here? And let me ask you one last thing. I know we can make this a quick one. Do you think this makes Andy a first ballot Hall of Famer
Yes,
now with this win?
he was a first ballot Hall of Famer anyway. He's the first player. He was the first coach to ever have 100 wins with two different teams. So I mean, just off of
Right.
something like that alone, now you got his second Super Bowl, and there's a pretty good chance that he's going to pile them on, and now in the next few years. I honestly,
This
unless we,
cements it. I agree. This definitely cements it.
it definitely puts a there on top, and unless somebody from the NFC can really step up, and it's really got to be us. I think at this point,
Yeah.
there's really going to be the AFC is really going to be all that's standing in his way of getting 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls before this is all said and done. Because realistically, if he coaches another 8 years or sticks with Mahomes for the next 8 years that he's under contract, he's realistically probably going to make it back to the Super Bowl about 5 more times, and win at least probably 2, 3, 4 of those. So unless somebody can step up, so by the time it's all said and done, he really has a chance to really be up there with the top coaches of all time, honestly. And congratulations to Andy Reid and the Chiefs. I'm pretty sour right now, but I'm not going to be a poor sport.
Mm.
They definitely earned the victory. The refs should have gotten the MVP award. But
Yeah.
but Mahomes ended up getting it. But
Crooked fucking zebras.
seriously, I mean,
It's all good. There's
yeah,
always next year foods, and you're right. I think we're going to see this rivalry again.
yeah, I do too. So I believe pitchers and catchers, did they report tomorrow for the Phillies?
Yeah, it's either tomorrow or Wednesday.
They're already
Might have
down
been
there.
the, might have
I
been the 16th. I thought I
Yeah,
heard the 16th.
I used to back when I lived in Florida, I was less than 10 minutes away from the stadium, and a lot of players were already there at this point in the year. They're training in the off season and working out down there already. So,
Oh
uh,
yeah, in the warm weather, baby.
yeah, it's been a tough year for Philly, to be honest with you. You got the Phillies losing in the World Series, the Eagles losing in the Super Bowl, the Union losing in the finals. The Sixers are most likely going to run into a roadblock with the Celtics, and unless they can figure a way to get over the top. So this is a tough year, guys. I mean, what would you rather have? This is the last question I want to ask you, and we'll get out of here. But would you rather have all the teams good and just losing like the way that we have, or would you rather them just be stinkers and just save the heartbreak?
I'd rather than be good. I
It
absolutely would. This has been a great run.
has.
I'm gonna tell you, I wouldn't trade this for all the tea and chai, as I say, because I absolutely love this year. It's just a shame that it's a one. It's not like a 7 game series. It's a one game, and they took that game.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me that, we would have scored 35 points in this game, I would have probably bet the house that we were going to win, honestly.
Yeah,
It,
absolutely.
but, the defense, 0 sacks and 3.6 yards per rush
Ah,
is the reason. I said to Lisa and Riley at halftime, I said, yeah, we're up by 10, but they're lucky that they're not down by 20 points, because we could have really stepped on their neck in the first half and really put the game away, and then relied on the run in the second half, get it going, and it just didn't materialize that way. And again, congratulations, Eagles, for a historic season. I mean, stat-wise, this is the best season in Eagles history with the 14 wins, and it was really looking like at halftime that we were going to run away with that. So it's just
mhm.
disappointing. Now, here's a stat for you. I know you like your stats. Teams down by 10 points in the second half have only won twice in Super Bowl history, and both of them were Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Yeah, the other one was against the San Francisco 49ers. So at
Mm-hmm.
least they can't talk too much.
Oh, they'll still be bitching this week, but
Yes, they sure will.
yeah. So we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for tuning in for this impromptu post game recap, and just some real feelings, because that's what we are here. We're not homers for our home teams. We're going to tell you how we feel, and we kind of feel like we represent the majority of how fans kind of feel at this point here. I'm sure there's going to be fans a lot more pissed than we are about that call at the end by the refs, but like you said, Foods, we shouldn't have even been in that position to begin with. So
That's what I'm saying. I should already be on my way to Frankfurt or Cotton right now, Foos.
absolutely. I was going to be climbing the poles of the apartment complex here all by myself in Greenville, South Carolina. Nobody would have known what the fuck I was doing, but we were there to stop me. But always next year. And let's wrap this up on the Eagles, and we'll look forward to the Phillies, and we'll get back together for a podcast probably Thursday night, I guess, is when we've really been doing it. So we'll touch base in a few days, and we'd like to hear what you guys think in the comments section. We're starting to get a few more fans of the show here, so I want to hear what you guys think. Let's just get something going in the comments section. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll be back this week for another podcast. All right, Beef. It's a good season.
It, Doc. All right, take it easy. Stay frosty, Philly fans. Don't worry. Keep the faith.
Absolutely. Have a good one, guys.
Good night.